Hey guys, good afternoon. Today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of my vinyl collection. This is one of the latest additions to my vinyl collection. This is Manchester Orchestra, The Million Masks of God. Beautiful record. If you have not listened to it, what are you doing with your life? This is Angels and Airwaves, Life Forms. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite album of 2021. I have a CD copy of this record. I also have a vinyl copy of this album. And not long after this album came out, I went to see Angels and Airwaves live because I think this album was so good. This is easily my favorite album of 2021. It was the album that I was most excited for in 2021. And man, did the way pay off. This is an excellent record. Thirdly is a classic, at least for me. This is My Chemical Romance's the final album, Danger Days. I love this album because of the storyline about it's like a group of desert bandits. I think it's awesome, as well as the fact that this album kicks off with a bang and just keeps on going. Just doesn't lose a single ounce of momentum. This thing came out of the Black Parade, but still impeccable. Speaking of classics, here is Green Day's Dookie. It's not a punk rock vinyl collection without Green Day's Dookie. I mean, come on, punk rock and vinyl. This album is a punk rock masterpiece. Enough said. Masterpieces, you say? This is Linkin Park's Meteora. Their brilliant, almost 20-year-old sophomore album. Truly a work of art. Here is a Blink-182's Greatest Hits collection on colored vinyl, I might add. Here's another classic. Here's Sum 41's All Killer, No Filler. It's actually the only piece of Sum 41 vinyl that I own, at least as of yet. At some point, I will probably add Order and Decline or 13 Voices to this collection, because both of those albums because I consider those albums to be the two best of the 2010s and the best of their new era, as well as the upcoming new album that's supposed to come out this year, the double album. I'm really looking forward to that. But it's always All Killer, No Filler. This is a little time capsule right here. Speaking of time capsule, Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. It's one of the first two records that I was ever given. I got this one on my 14th birthday as a gift. The debut album by Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. This thing's an ultimate masterpiece. You can't say otherwise. Here's another punk classic, or at least a future punk classic. Rise Against, Nowhere Generation. It's a brand new album. It came out last summer. I remember listening to this thing when it first came out. I was on a 14-hour road trip from Yosemite, California, back to Arizona. And the whole time I was listening to this, which is just such a brilliantly crafted piece of work. And it is definite proof that rock is still alive. And it also comes on orange vinyl. Very pretty. Going in the complete opposite direction, this is Taylor Swift with Folklore. I got this around the tail end of 2020 because I consider it to be the best album of 2020, and this album was everybody's album of the year in 2020, and I wanted to see what all the hype was about. Also comes on really pretty bad vinyl. Here are two excellent records. So these are two of my personal favorite albums, both for different reasons. This is Anti-Flags, American Spring. This is one of their best albums. It's usually one of Anti-Flag's best records, coming from a huge Anti-Flag fan myself. This is like top quality punk rock. And this you may not recognize it, but this is Pearl Jam's 10. This thing came out 30 years ago in 1991, effectively making this the oldest piece of vinyl in my collection. Comes on beautiful purple vinyl. And like this album is just a blast all the way through. It's easily my favorite grunge rock album, my favorite 90s album. I'm actually going to see Pearl Jam next Monday, my best friend. Speaking of the 90s, here's Blink-182's Enema of the State, an ultimate 90s time capsule. I mean, come on. Dookie, 10, Enema of the State, 90s trifecta, baby. 90s trifecta. Here is another Green Day piece of art. This is their second rock opera album and their 8th album overall, 21st Century Breakdown. One of their best albums, certainly the best of the rock opera era. This album came out in 2009, which means I could have listened to it, but I was too young. But hey, I got into it. I bought a vinyl copy of it last summer at Amoeba Records in Los Angeles. And if you've never been, please, if you're into vinyl or into physical media at all, that is your mecca. I recommend it. Here's a heavy one. You may not recognize this album, but this is one of my favorite albums of all time. This is brand new with science fiction. This is my favorite album of the entire 2010s decade. And what I consider to be brand new's greatest album, their greatest achievement, their shining accomplishment, and their best piece of work they've ever created. I mean, have you heard 137? Come on. So by this point, you're very likely seeing a pattern that I love Green Day, and of course. You can't say I love Green Day and I love vinyl and not have American Idiot. This thing is their masterpiece. This thing is their masterpiece. It's the best of the rock opera era, and it's the best of. This is what I consider to be Green Day's best album of all time. Yes, I also own Dookie, and I believe that. I mean, Dookie's amazing in its own right, but American Idiot, come on. May not recognize it from the album cover, but this is My Chemical Romance with The Black Parade. The 2006 rock opera masterpiece, the best album of 2006, the best rock album of 2006, and one of the greatest concept records ever devised. Easily one of the smartest also. And the album that brought you Welcome to the Black Parade and Dead. Here is The Offspring with their brand new album, Let the Bad Times Roll. This thing came out last spring in 2021. I quickly picked up a vinyl copy because I found this album to be very satisfying, very fun, and it's an album that is just a joy to listen to. And it's The Offspring. Here's the most recent addition to my vinyl collection, Linkin Park with Living Things. Easily one of my favorite Linkin Park records, and certainly one of the best of their 2010s work. I actually just listened to this last night. Here's Chris Cornell, No One Sings Like You Anymore, the Chris Cornell tribute album, of course. This is Churches with Screen Violence, the only piece of Churches vinyl that I own. This album is on a beautiful sort of translucent red color, which I believe matches this record perfectly. It's obviously a lot of red. And I consider this to be so far Church's best album. I say so far because I haven't heard a whole lot of their material beyond this record. But his album is just so powerful in its lyric writing. It caught my eye, so very quickly found myself buying a copy at Zia. And lastly, here's another one of my favorite My Chemical Romance albums, and one of my favorite punk rock albums ever. My Chemical Romance, 3 Cheers with Sweet Revenge. Another concept record, another story record. You've probably seen this album cover a million times. I don't need to explain it. This record is absolutely iconic and is absolutely like one of my favorites of My Chemical Romance's entire career. Great note to end out my vinyl collection. So obviously my vinyl collection is not complete, but I am very proud of what I have. My vinyl collection is always growing, so I'll probably do a new edition of this video in a couple of months. So, how do you enjoy my vinyl collection? Let me know. Let me know. Hit me up, and I'll see you in the next one.